Hello everybody, my name is Lizzie and this is a paper that has been developed with my PhD student, friend and colleague Tina. We are going to relate to you through the use of a critical relational autoethnography, a story of the lived experience of a mother and how through the consumer socialization process she influences her son's consumption of sport and sporting brands in order to compensate for shortcomings in her childhood experiences and an attempt to obviate FOMO, fear of missing out, in her son. To give theoretical context, consumer socialization is the process whereby children learn consumption skills and consumer values from various social agents as they develop. It is important to consider, as not only does it shed light on potential influence over what a child might wish to purchase, but also what they choose not to purchase, the values they base purchasing decisions on, the limits they set on their purchasing behaviour at different developmental phases. All these things are important. And so, over to Tina for the story.
Good afternoon, everyone. I realise that I've influenced my son's consumption of sport and sporting brands throughout his life, and so I decided to explore through autoethnography the impact my role has had on his consumer behaviour. Today, Tom has almost reached the end of his tween years. His understanding of what it means to be a consumer and how he should behave has been greatly influenced by myself and my husband, but also through his experiences with the products we buy for him and the purchasing experiences he has unwittingly participated in. As he's continued to grow and develop, the influence has become wider ranging and includes extended family and friends along with peer groups. Even now in his pre-teen years, I have a strong influence over the sports and products he engages with. I have a definite idea of the messages particular sporting brands convey to me, but if you ask Tom what brand means to him, you'll get a shrug of the shoulders. He recently needed new clothes. When I asked him what he would like, his response was some trousers, some t-shirts, some jumpers and some new socks. Asking him to elaborate more on what brands I should buy, he said, "I don't know." So I pushed further and said, "Surely there's a make-up jumper you'd like." To which his response was, "I don't know. Maybe the green one I have with the writing on the back? I don't care as long as it's comfortable and it doesn't have any itchy bits." Tom seems more interested in the function of the item rather than any symbolic meaning provided by the brand. Tom may not care or may see me as some sort of expert, but the choices I make for him are very specifically geared towards supporting my positive sporting social identity.
Young consumers are known to acquire skills, knowledge and attributes which allow them to function as consumers, and this is defined as the theory of consumer socialization. Children can be seen as being part of a lucrative marketing segment, as having enormous purchasing power and potential for direct influence on familial spending. In short, they are both consumers and consumers in training. It is also clear that Tom's consumption can be immensely influenced by referent adults and peers as consumer socialization agents, also through celebrity endorsements, mass media, and his own consumer goods preference.
I was very sporty as a child and remember very clearly how powerful and strong that made me feel. However, during adolescence, my family uprooted from London to Cardiff, which resulted in our circumstances changing dramatically, and for many years I could not engage in some of my favourite sports. I have a memory of wanting to be back in the cool kids group with the latest gear, but this never happened, and I was one of the misfits with my cheap, heavy trainers and market-bought sports gear. Just the sight of a green Dunlop logo still evokes powerful negative feelings. Going from being one of the cool kids in London to an outsider in Cardiff had a very negative effect on my self-concept, and our lack of financial resources reduced my cultural capital at a formative time, which has had a lasting impact on me and subsequently upon my influence on Tom. Throughout adulthood, my self-concept became much stronger after refinding sport without any of the financial barriers to entry. I discovered triathlon, which involves swimming, biking and running consecutively, and developed a passion for Ironman races. This is my life. I'm also a qualified British triathlon coach, and as a result, my social identity is very much based around a sport and fitness lifestyle, which I also impose on Tom.
Research suggests that mothers in particular influence offspring's consumer behaviour, and the positive development of social identity can be attributed in some way to the child's consumption of brands purchased on their behalf. Again, This relates to the theory of purchaser in provider mode.
In contrast to my childhood, Tom wants for nothing. As a privately educated singleton, he has never had to compete for our affection, developmental opportunities, or material possessions. So it is fair to say he can be considered privileged. I must point out, though, that he does not have a sense of self-entitlement. He's humble and appreciative of what he has, and he doesn't appear to take it for granted, which I'm really thankful for. Our relationship has been pretty intense from the day Tom arrived in the world. A traumatic birth ignited a desire in me to ensure he had everything he could ever need, and this is where the FOMO comes in. And also to protect him from some of the negative experiences I had as a teenager. I've never wanted Tom to be out on the street, wasting his time, even though this is something I enjoyed as an adolescent. I wanted him to be more productive, and sports, especially cool sports, seemed to me to be an ideal way of doing this.
Tina's intense relationship with Tom has resulted in a phenomenon called the privatisation of childhood, where activities are structured and controlled by the parents. The propensity for parents to exert considerable control over their children's leisure time is referred to as the modern childhood effort.
Sports started very early in Tom's life, as at 6 weeks old I enrolled him in water babies classes, which involved submerging him underwater for periods of time to take advantage of the laryngeal reflex, get him accustomed to water and to practice swimming to the side in case of emergency. I would like to say that my motive for participation was purely safety, but I was influenced by branding and the associated messages. How cool is my kid? Or actually, how cool am I for being an unconventional mum, submerging my newborn baby and showing the world how he could swim? The reality was a group of mums dunking our babies, looking at each other wide-eyed, hoping their breath-holding reflexes would kick in, and they weren't just flailing babies trying desperately to resurface. We weren't deterred by this, and the photograph at the end of the course was not to be sniffed at either. How can having a Nirvana baby not be cool? My pride in this activity continues, and we still have awesome comments from visitors when they see the photographic evidence.
It is quite clear that this activity was related to the development of positive parental social identity. Tom did not make any decisions relating to this. What also emerges here is the potential for vicarious conspicuous consumption and also consumption symbolism.
Tom didn't excel at football, but his desire for kit, like the one Josh is wearing, was grounded in the belief that it would make him a better player. The advice from an unenthusiastic store assistant was, "All the kids want messy boots." Tom responded with, "Yes, Mum, can we get those? He's a really good player off FIFA." And so my purchasing decision was influenced by Tom, his peers, and a celebrity through a virtual platform. At the next session, Tom proudly sported his new kit, and his friends complimented him and said, "Whoa, you've got messy boots." These brands had a positive impact on his social identity within that group, if not upon his performance. Sam's new image also reinforced my social identity vicariously, even if it was a case of all the gear and no idea.
Self-concept and image influence consumer purchase decisions, and Tina may not have acquiesced so easily had the purchase been related to a brand that didn't have the right symbolism or a product related to an unhealthy lifestyle, which would also bring into play the theory of self-image, product image congruity, where as consumers we engage with brands or products which have similar characteristics to our self-concept.
As Tom develops into a young man, he's starting to express his feelings about participating in different sports. He said he loves swimming, but he doesn't really like triathlon. But he will still go as he likes being coached by me. But he told me, "You must understand it's not my favourite thing to do." He's also become more physically aware, more competitive, and has developed as a consumer. Having a bank account has also given him more freedom of choice over his purchasing decisions. Although it still influences consumer behaviour, he still checks it's okay to buy something, he's definitely becoming more influenced by peers and external influences such as other referent adults, in reality and virtually, through various YouTubers and computer games. It'll be interesting to see if and how these influences impact upon his sporting participation and his choices in the future.
This autoethnography provides significant insight with rich, thick, qualitative data which illustrates components of the child's consumer behaviour within a social setting. The paper gives important indications for the potential of parental, in this case maternal, influence on the marketing-related construct of consumer socialisation, or the way in which the child, a consumer and also a consumer in waiting, learns to engage with consumer goods. Thank you.